Hello and welcome to the Passion Driven Pioneers interview series. I'm your host, John Channon, and today I'm joined by Mark Boysen, who is the founder of Naware. Mark, thank you so much for joining us today.
John, thanks for having us. I really appreciate the opportunity.
Yeah, would you just like to kick us off with a brief background as to who you are, what you do, and then the business that you're in?
Sure. My name is Mark Boysen. I'm the founder of Anywhere, as John said. We started in May of 2024 to focus on our mission is to change weed control forever by eliminating chemicals. And we aim to do that by using AI, robotics, and steam to eradicate weeds. So we detect a weed, we kill it with steam, and we can mount on essentially any platform to be able to kill weeds as you mow or as you're driving through the field, etc. So,
Well, that's really interesting. Maybe just talk to us a little bit more about how that technology works. And you said it could be put into any type of lawn care device?
yeah, it's a platform that can be used with any like ATVs, mowers, spreaders, sprayers, tractors, and it's modular so that it can be built for the specific situation itself. So we've been talking to municipalities, golf courses, tree farmers, lawn care companies, obviously some park and rec folks, landscapers, and I think kind of what we're hitting on a little bit is there's a growing need for alternatives outside of chemicals. Everybody's concerned. Surprisingly, it's not, the driver isn't ROI, which you would think most of the concerns are primarily health and either health of their kids or their family, their pets, or health of the workers, um, or public perception of spraying these harmful chemicals in public locations. So,
Okay, good. Well, I appreciate you taking the time just to kind of explain that a little bit better for us. What inspired you to start this business, or what was that initial spark that led you to start this business? Because it's very different, it seems, than what you've been doing in the past.
yeah, I have a neighbor next door that I think he's trying to farm Creeping Charlie and corner the market. And,
I think I've got that done.
and, I don't like to spray. The last time I sprayed a couple of years ago, I had a headache for a week. The wind changed or whatever, and I inhaled it or whatever, which, it's like, hey, there's got to be a better way to this. So we believe it or not, we started with lasers, and um, we found that lasers were incredibly dangerous and uh, from a couple different aspects in a lawn where it ignites the whole weed on fire, and the other aspect was the reflection element where the laser itself will reflect off the grass blades.
Hmm.
So what happens if it reflects off a piece of glass and it hits a kid playing, 5 blocks down, which it would, because it doesn't diffuse. So we started experimenting with alternative, I don't know, methods, I guess would be the best way to say it. And we found that steam was incredibly more effective.
So talk to us a little bit about, this is coming up on a year, right? Talk to us about some of the things that you learned starting up this business within the last year, and what were some of the maybe the skill sets that you brought to the table as well.
So prior to this, as a product coach, and I would teach or train companies or do transformations to help them bring in product skills, agile values, agile mindset, so that you can essentially, some techniques from lean startup where you're basically trying to figure out if you have a product before you run out of money. And, I kind of got I kind of looked at the industry and like, hey, I'm going into all these companies. Why don't I build my own product? And I can tell you that it's incredibly rewarding to, you know, have something that you're developing, you're trying to make a difference with, and you see it coming to life every day. It just an incredible amount of joy that it brings to me and my family and our coworkers and our partners that we're working with. But I would offer the whole reason you do a startup is to solve a problem that somebody will pay you to solve, unless you're going down the nonprofit route. But it's kind of a collection of all the skills that I've done for my entire career, from running a PMO and reviewing contracts for risk, and being the business arm that says whether we do the contract or not. And I'm using those skills today, and it helps you with understanding agreements and partnership agreements and setting up like risk and liability for the company. The product coaching aspect, the mission, vision, values, super important for helping to attract talent in the company. And really, what are we trying to do with as a company for Anywhere to contribute back, right? So the 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 contribution to the mission that it really helps when it inspires, and it you have a much better reception if you can figure out how to tap into that.
Okay. Let me just ask you another question. So, are you doing this full time or is this a side hustle? Because I have had people that during the startup phases, it was kind of a side hustle, and then they all of a sudden decided to make a commitment. What about you?
Oh,
How's this going?
oh, it's 100%.
Nice.
90 hours a week is probably average. Uh, Yoda, my dog is um, barking at the thing here.
I can't hear him, so that's okay.
Oh, it's really good. It cuts out the technology. But I have a delivery being delivered here. So, 100% full time plus, or probably averaging over 90 hours a week. Um, and there's, I would offer, if you have you can either get funding or fund it yourself or bootstrap. You're going to learn a lot more, a lot faster if you can uh, can do it full time.
Usually I ask about how do you stay adaptable to change, and obviously this is an innovation in your space already. But talk to us a little bit about what were your expectations for the first year? And then for the next couple of years, kind of what are your expectations or what do you need to do to kind of take this business to the next level, do you feel?
The first year, we wanted to get our prototype out and be ready to start selling, which we are. We're going to be ready for the season coming up in spring here in Minnesota. That and we're probably a little later than other parts of the country, where May is when the really spring is in full swing, and you're typical. If it's a typical spring, that's when it happens. So we want to be ready for that. Years 2 and 3 is really about scaling and growth. And, you know, as some of our advisory board members have said, this is the hardest period right now is, we've gotten our first sale. We've had a ton of interest from, a wide variety of customers. We're working on sales 2, 3, 4, and 5 right now. And, later year 2, 3, it's going from 100 to 1,000, and everything in between, trying to figure out, you know, how do we improve on the product? How do we manufacture our own product, et cetera? How do we scale up the team, et cetera?
Okay. That sounds like you're in that stage of, this next year is going to be really important
Absolutely.
for
Yeah.
the success and kind of making sure then you get those other next steps after that. Are you focused on any certain segments of the market first to kind of get this out and get it up and get it going? Um,
It- We're looking at golf courses. We've talked to a golf course that's trying to become 100%, um, as least amount of chemicals as possible. And it's a very prominent golf course, and I'm not sure I have permission from them yet to share who it is, but they're they want to partner with us. They want to, want us to be on their site and get the product dialed into their environment. And we're talking to other, surprisingly, municipalities are all over this, from the standpoint of, the sustainability and the product market fit for, there's a lot of the cities are trying to become, chemical free or have initiatives that they're at least looking for that. So those would be the top two that we're trying to look at.
okay, good. Well, I appreciate you sharing that with the audience because that's an element of it's important to know who your target market is initially, right? To get that up and get it going and get it proven, and then really focus on that, do that well, and then you'll be able to expand out from there.
Absolutely. It's super important to figure out who that niche is and who's going to pay you. Who are those innovators that, that want to be the first, that, are probably uh, their risk tolerance would probably be, you know, there's a little bit of an ego thing where they want to help you. They want it to succeed and they don't care about the risks. Those would be your, you know, those innovators that you're looking for that, can get you launched and get your product going.
Well, and I would think that with this type of technology, right, STEAM technology, that there's an inherent ROI versus using chemicals. Just in terms of the ability to address an issue and control weeds differently. I would think there's probably an inherent or ROI, or am I incorrect about that?
Well, just from the product itself, but one of our tree farmers told us it's about a $45,000 a year job for somebody to sit on a sprayer. And it takes about, it's getting harder and harder for them to find somebody that will stay on that sprayer because of the news, the health risks that come out about, the pesticides or herbicides and, just the chemical use. And it, our ROI is, you won't necessarily need that roll anymore. So it's you weed as you go as you're mowing, just one use case for a landscaper, so that it, you're killing your weeds as you're going through your yard or through your customer's yard. And if you're doing that every week, why do you need to spray anymore? But kind of what's really interesting that we've learned is through the education of, just helping us to understand the product itself, um, we've learned that the, the most of the customers we're talking to, ROI isn't the main driver.
Just so the main driver is health and environmental aspects of this then?
The safety aspect, which
Safety.
is,
Okay.
yeah, really important for, they're concerned about their kids, they're concerned about their pets, they're concerned that, their customers or their workers, like pesticides or chemicals inside of, like a public park, or a dog park, they're not able to spray weeds at all. So either the weeds grow out of control or, they're trying to mow it. And, I'm just thinking a couple of dog parks by Eden Prairie where, they're overgrown with weeds and they're, they're just not able to. So we could potentially provide a solution that, allows them to maintain a nicer, more aesthetic view, but also provide that safety aspect because we're just using water. So,
Yeah, and I appreciate you sharing those examples because, my original mindset was thinking about how we handle weeds today, not recognizing the fact that this is a real shift in terms of capability in that if you can treat things as you're mowing, right, or cutting the grass, that eliminates that extra application need, right? So it's a whole mindset shift in terms of the industry as a whole and thinking about how we manage weeds.
Yeah, it's why it's exciting because I would say 9 out of 10 people get it, and of the nine, it really appeals to every demographic for the most part, from the business owner to the Gen Zer, that is interested in, so what does sustainability look like for me and my family down the line? So,
Yeah, and I can't tell you how excited I would be to be able to treat my creeping Charlie while I was cutting the grass because I do that once a week, every week and a half already. And it would be, man, that would save me a lot of time. So uh, I appreciate you sharing that. Now, Mark, knowing that this show is going to be targeted towards people who are thinking about getting in business or maybe in their first few years of business, do you have any final thoughts or words of advice you'd like to share with our audience today?
uh, really three things. And I think one is Beta, Minnesota. If you have access to an accelerator like Beta in your local community, here in Minnesota, we have Beta, Minnesota, and there's in Techstars, there's a couple different accelerators, but you can't do this yourself. It's even being a product coach, thinking I knew all the answers, I didn't know all the answers. Um, and you need the help and support almost every week. Somebody is helping us from some level, either our advisory board or somebody we meet, somebody like yourself, John, where, you make an introduction and, warm introductions. That would be number two is don't, it's not it's not how smart you are. It's not how good the idea is. One of the best quotes of advice I got was, it's not people who win don't lose with people, or people who don't lose in startups, don't lose with people. And this came from a person in ADP. And it was like, I asked him, is like, who who usually wins and who doesn't. And he's like, the people that really help and connect with people. So from a networking standpoint, it it may not be, even from a customer standpoint or just, connecting with somebody for the first time. Who do you know in the lawn care space? Who do you know in the golf course, or who is in the municipality? And I closed with this at, there was one of the points I brought up at one of the talks I gave is, every founder, I believe, is, three, four, five contacts away from someone that can help them substantially. And one of my board members, advisor board members, has probably introduced us to 15 people.
Hmm.
So if I, and it's growing. I mean, I'm meeting a marketing person this week. Every week, it's, he gave us his son as an intern over Christmas break to help us with some aspects of it. But if I didn't have this particular person's in my network, I would probably be three people less on my advisory board, probably seven different contacts. And my current person that we're working with, business development, we've had three or four contacts from him. So it just multiplies. And, it's like, the key question that you can ask is, who do you know who can help us, and how can I help you? So
Oh, that's great. Well, I appreciate you taking the time to share that. And listen, thank you so much for your time today, Mark.
thank you, John. I really appreciate the opportunity to be here. And, by all means, if anybody's interested in reaching out to us and want to see a demo, please reach out. So
Yeah, no, that's great. And to everyone watching, I look forward to seeing you in our next episode.